and welcome back to Game Escape. Here today to review an excellent import fighting game called Fate Unlimited Codes for the PlayStation 2. It's a game I found as I was sort of researching what games to import back when I modded my PS2, and it was a Capcom fighting game, or so I thought. So I picked it up and actually discovered that it was not actually a Capcom-developed game. It was developed by a company called A-Ting, who were behind some interesting titles such as Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. I believe they co-developed the recent Marvel vs. Capcom games for the PS3 and Xbox 360. I was interested in this one. It was a fighting game that I had never heard of, and there was not a lot of information online about it. So basically, if you want to think of this game as kind of like, I'm not going to call it a spiritual successor to Rival Schools, but it plays very much like that game. It's a fighting game happening in a 3D space that nonetheless utilizes a lot of the 2D Street Fighter mechanics, and does so very, very well. So you would think that it's a Capcom game in that sense. One of the kind of interesting mechanics in this game is the combo system. Now, I am not particularly great at comboing people, but you can get combos into the 50s and 60s, and you can sort of find some videos online of expert players who can do that. You know, if I'm lucky, I can get a 20-hit combo going, and that's not very difficult. The game sort of utilizes what I would call like a counter or reflect guard system, where you can actually stop time, briefly block a move, and then attack. And I believe that's controlled by the gauge in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. The sort of goblet at the top is, I believe they call it the Holy Grail gauge. And what this is going to do is basically allow you to pull off a super move by hitting the low, medium, and high attack buttons. That having been said, at least that's the way I think it works, but I have never been able to really do that consistently, so maybe there is an aspect of the control scheme that I'm missing, or obviously I tried to discover this by looking at the manual, but not reading Japanese. I'm probably missing something there, but it's a really interesting system, and it's a really satisfying sort of combat system. The pulling off some combos and using that reflect guard to kind of throw an opponent off of his or her rhythm is really, really rewarding. You know, it is happening in a 3D space, I guess you could say, but this is not like a Tekken or a Virtual Fighter. I mean, you have a button that sort of lets you strafe left or right, so you can kind of move in a circle in that sense, but you can't freely traverse the stage as you could in the traditional 3D fighters that I just mentioned. And I suppose you even have a little bit more freedom in a game like Rival Schools, but ultimately this feels like a really, really tight 2D fighter that just happens to get the 3D character models in treatment. Another aspect of this game that I thought was really, really fun, and to its credit, was that each fighter feels unique and different. I know literally nothing about I guess it's an anime or a manga series off of which the game is based. I don't know who these characters are, but they each feel different. They each have different movesets, different special moves, different little buffs that they can get in a fight, and it makes it fun to sort of explore each character. And I think that's to a fighting game's credit. You want to create characters that are interesting enough so that the player goes and wants to learn the movesets and wants to play through the arcade mode with each different fighter, because really that's all that you can do in this game. There's an arcade mode, and there's a mission mode, which to me is kind of like a training mode in the sense you have different sort of objectives that you have to pull off, you know, using certain combos, blocking a certain amount of moves, and I guess that unlocks sort of movies and concept art for the game. But it's a fairly bare-bones package as far as options go. However, the fact that each character is so different and interesting to use makes you come back to it again and again. As far as the graphics and sound go, the graphics are okay. I mean, the character models are pretty good for 3D character models. I mean, usually in an anime-inspired game, you would be looking for hand-drawn 2D art, but it's actually fine if you ask me. I mean, these characters look okay. The backgrounds are a little bland, and one of the things I noticed, having played through this game a lot, especially back in 2008-2009 when I picked it up, is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of variety in the stages. And you'll find it, I don't know if this is a bug or a glitch, but a lot of the times as you play through the arcade mode, you'll find yourself playing the same stage, in the same stage 3-4 times as you sort of go up the 8 or 9 match ladder, which gets a little repetitive. These are not terrific backgrounds. They all sort of take place at night in traditional Japanese settings, sort of when these characters are battling when no one's looking, and so they have a kind of almost Spartan minimalist feel to them. Certainly not a game breaker. The sound is good. The sound, it's nothing to write home about. The music is fine. Actually, the stage or the fighter select music is probably the best in the game. If I had a level 1 criticism at this one, it's that the controls are a little difficult in the sense that when you play it with the analog stick on the PS2 controller, it seems like the forward jump move does not register as accurately as it should. Now, I tried this with 3 different PlayStation 2 controllers, and maybe mine are just getting old, but I constantly found myself sort of, jumping directly up in the air when I wanted to jump at a character, and that, of course, threw off my timing on some of the combos. It may not be that way for you. Like I said, maybe my controllers are old, but what I did do is hook up my X-Gaming, X-Arcade stick, and that sort of took care of the problem. The game played really, really nicely on the X-Arcade stick, so I'd recommend that you play this with some sort of fight stick. So overall, I would definitely recommend this title. It is a lot of fun, very, very nice addition to an import PlayStation 2 library. In fact, there's hardly any language barrier at all. The menus are in English for the most part, and there's some instructions that are in Japanese. You really can't play through the mission mode because all of the objectives are written in Japanese, but as far as playing through the arcade mode and unlocking as much as you can in that mode, very, very accessible and really a lot of fun. So I would say, if you liked Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, if you enjoyed the sort of style of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, check this out. You can find it on eBay. It sort of hovers between $20 and $40. There was a PSP release of this game. I believe it was a physical release in Japan. I want to say that it was digital only here in North America, but it has since been pulled from the North American PlayStation Store due to some sort of licensing dispute. So you'll have to get a hold of the physical copy. Frankly, I don't think this would be as enjoyable on the PSP, so I would recommend it on the PlayStation 2. And like I said, for $20, I wouldn't pay $40, around the $20 price point, a very, very enjoyable game. So I thank you as always for watching Game Escape, and I'll be back shortly with another video.